Story 1. Not taking care of their children. We are no longer friends. Story 2. Someone once shared that their best friend never washed their bedsheets. Ever. They kept sleeping in the same grime for years and thought it was normal. Total trust was shattered in one sentence. Story 3. Okay, so this is going to be wild. I had a friend in high school who would eat her vaginal discharge or play with it. She claimed it was completely sanitary because it was our body cleaning itself. The only reason I found out was because I went to the restroom with her, and when she wiped, she would wipe the discharge off the toilet paper and eat it. When I asked why she ate it, she said, "To tell if my vagina is healthy." I stopped hanging out with her after that. Story 4. Might be the unpleasant lack of a habit. A fairly new acquaintance of mine does not wash or dry himself after showering because he believes it is inappropriate. By that logic, I assume he does not clean himself properly either. Story 5. Former friend did not buy toilet paper and insisted it was unnecessary to wipe. Important information. He did not have a bidet. Story 6. In college, we had a friend who kept all his used condoms. We found out because my roommate asked to borrow his coat to go grab something out of the car in winter. He put his hands in the pockets, and one of the used condoms was there. We stopped hanging out with him shortly after that. Story 7. Not taking care of her cats. She just let them urinate and defecate all over the place and could not figure out why. Meanwhile, never cleaning their litter boxes. She kept a literal piece of feces from her first cat after it died. I had to make her throw it away. The cats have also been infested with fleas for years. It makes me very angry. The strangest part is she regularly takes them to the veterinarian. Story 8. Pursuing married or unavailable men and lying about their relationship status because she knew I would not like it. Story 9. One of my best friends claims to be an animal lover and is vegan. However, she has urinated on every one of her cats to establish dominance when they have misbehaved, such as holding them in the bath while standing over them. She has issues but is generally a reasonable person otherwise. I even tried to protect her by not telling anyone, but then she shamelessly talked about it in front of my wife and others. She genuinely sees nothing wrong with this, and it is mind-boggling. Story 10. A former boyfriend from high school pulled out an old yellow quilt his grandmother had given him and told me he had been ejaculating in it for years. He said he never washed it and called it his cum blanket. I think I saw it only once because I was so disgusted I told him I never wanted to see it again and told him to wash it. It was extremely stiff and yellow from all the dried ejaculate. Story 11. I do not know if it is considered a habit, but after he told me that he likes to get blackout drunk every weekend, it makes me wonder if he has demons he is running away from or if he actually thinks it is fun to black out and wake up somewhere he does not remember. Story 12. Constantly buying new cars, getting 2 very expensive personal watercraft, acquiring more dogs, a boat, and a travel trailer. I sit back silently, knowing she owes me $5,000 for saving their house from foreclosure without her husband knowing any of this. Story 13. A friendly coworker one day got excited because it was raining. He said he loves it when it rains because then he can get drunk and drive, and the police will not pull him over because they do not want to get wet. I had just started working there and immediately knew never to go with him anywhere. This was just the tip of his crazy iceberg. Story 14. When I met my friend, they did not know how to cook at all. We are talking about a how do I boil an egg level of knowledge gap. They were in their late 20s at the time. In fairness to them, they were raised on fast food and takeout. Their parents never cooked at home and still do not. There have been some improvements over the years since we became friends. They can now make scrambled eggs and assemble meal kits. It was an eye-opening experience because I come from a family that takes pride in home cooking. Story 15. Putting the shark's teeth she finds at the beach in her mouth, so she can continue to dive down for more, makes my contamination obsessive-compulsive disorder scream. Story 16. Not a best friend, but a childhood friend. He moved to my city and wanted to hang out. He and his girlfriend identified as friend fuckers and tried to involve my husband in a threesome for her birthday, which was awkward as my husband and I were monogamous at the time. Their relationship was very toxic, and I had to calm him down after he called me. threatening self-harm when she went out to be with another man on his birthday. I drove him 3 hours to see her and sort things out. She eventually left him, and he chased after her to another city. The real incident happened after the birthday event, but before moving cities. He and his girlfriend planned a cuckold play date with a new friend. Drinking was involved, and then they sexually assaulted her, performing acts that were explicitly off-limits. But she was too intoxicated to resist. He called me, panicked and worried he had hurt her. He gave me a detailed account, and I managed my feelings enough to advise him on how to take responsibility and prevent further harm to the victim. I am a survivor, so this was extremely triggering. I thought I had helped the victim by ensuring he left her alone. But after he moved, I heard he reunited with his girlfriend, and both lied to everyone, claiming they did not assault the girl and that she was just unstable. They unquestionably assaulted her. We are no longer friends. Story 17. One friend. I hosted her when she was having trouble with her husband. She didn't watch her child when I was briefly out, and her child got into my makeup and destroyed approximately $250 worth. When I confronted my friend, she just screamed at her daughter for several minutes. There was no discussion about why she did it, why it was wrong, how I might feel, or how her daughter might make amends. I was more upset that the mother wasn't watching her child than about the loss, and even more upset that she just screamed at her like that. I couldn't look at her the same way after that. Story 18. My friend keeps biting popsicles, not licking them or letting them melt. He goes all out, using his front teeth first. I feel it deeply every time. Story 19. Viewing child pornography is illegal. The individual is no longer a friend and has been reported and arrested. Story 20. Back in high school, I found out she did not wash her hands after using the toilet, not even rinse with water. She said it was just urine. I threw a major tantrum and refused to let her touch any of my stuff until she started washing her hands with soap. Story 21. Not best friend but friend and coworker. He does not have a working toilet in the house, so he urinates in the yard every morning. It is no wonder the fruit from the garden is small and sour. Story 22. Having a glass beside their bed for water that they had not washed in 3 years. Story 23. I had a roommate steal all my dishes over time. I asked if he knew where they had gone. He lied and said he didn't know. As we were moving out, I found all of my dishes in his closet, piled up with moldy food and maggots all over them. Story 24. One of my friends told me she picks up dog vomit with the utensil they use to cook and serve food. Story 25. They collect and eat their scabs. I would call it disgusting, but I do much worse. Story 26. Stealing makeup and other small petty items while I was there. I don't care about people stealing from large corporations, but I don't want to risk being seen as an accomplice. Nor do I think it was fair of her to put me in that position without telling me. A clean criminal record is very important in my line of work. I'm not looking to jeopardize it over some cheap earrings she can absolutely afford. Story 27. Opposite of this. I found out last week that my best friend has never passed gas in front of her partner of 5 years. They own a home together. How? Story 28. I knew my best friend John had struggled with pornography addiction for a long time. I never really thought much about it, but when I visited recently, he told me he had quit. I was very happy. Later during that visit, I went into his room. He had never had an issue with me being there since we grew up together, so I closed my eyes for a moment. In the corner of his room, I saw something. He had a picture of his girlfriend taped to the head of a stuffed animal. The stuffed animal had a hole cut in the bottom. I don't think I need to explain further. I mentioned to him that I saw it. I was not judgmental, but it was clear that I was no longer comfortable going into his room. I think he then realized how unusual his behavior actually was. Story 29. When you are ice fishing and need to urinate, take about 10 steps from the hut. I love my friend like a brother, but one step is not enough. Urine on ice travels a bit. Story 30. We are no longer friends, but he frequently meets strangers on dating applications. He visited me last year while he was talking to someone who lives in his state and decided to meet another man here in a portable restroom without protection. Story 31. looking up bestiality pornography on his iPhone when we were sophomores in high school back in 2010. Story 32. Flossing their teeth everywhere. The other day, they flossed their teeth in the airport concourse, not in the bathroom, but in the middle of the concourse, gazing absently at nothing while people walked by on all sides. Felt like a video game glitch. Story 33. A friend keeps his personal items along with an open measuring cup filled with lotion for it on a table in his living room. When you enter, there is just adult content playing on a widescreen, and the items are ready to use at any time. Luckily, the table is still much taller than his daughter, and it looks relatively innocent on that corner table at first glance. However, he really needs to store those items away soon if he wants to continue having his daughter over. At least he does not have the adult content playing in front of his child, as far as I can tell, but I do not want to know any more about this. Story 34. Not best friends, but a couple of friends. They told us about their booger wall. They would lie on the bed, pick their noses, and either flick or place boogers on the same spot on the bedroom wall. When they moved houses, the spot on the wall was so thick and plastered that they had to use tools to dig into the drywall, replaster, and paint. Story 35. Picked his nose and ate whatever the result was. He licked his fingers while eating. Goodness, I had shivers run through me. Nasty. Story 36. I found out 7 months into a relationship that he had never showered with soap in his life. He thought the water did enough cleaning. Story 37. Putting their outside shoes on my coffee table or their bare feet on it. Story 38. In high school, one of my girlfriends claimed she did not wipe when she urinated because her underwear absorbed any small amount of wetness. I do not have a sense of smell, so I do not know if she was walking around smelling like urine to other people. Story 39. He does not change his bed sheets often. I mean, minimally every 4 to 6 months. We are not friends anymore. Many other problems occurred that destroyed the friendship, but lack of hygiene was one of the main issues. Story 40. My friend was bragging about the boxers he bought, saying how good they were and that they did not stretch out after 2 or 3 wears like his old ones. I immediately asked him what he meant, because surely no one wears the same pair of underwear for that long. He indeed wears the same pair for 2 or 3 days. His rationale was that he still showered every day and does not do physical labor for work. I searched online and even checked Reddit to show him that it is normal to change your underwear daily. He thought that was crazy. Story 41. We went on a hike together with her dog. She opened a Nalgene bottle and let the dog drink from it. I thought, oh, that's so cute that the dog also has its own Nalgene. Nope. As soon as the dog finished drinking and slobbering all over the bottle, she drank from the same one. I almost threw up right there. What's worse is that her tongue was always bright white. I tried to talk to her about possibly having oral thrush, and she told me it wasn't possible. Story 42. Not bringing a towel to the gym and cleaning down after themselves. Story 43. I had a close friend who eventually revealed to me that she enjoyed dominating men in some of the most extreme sexual ways. She proceeded to share with me the names of some men, including some I knew. Story 44. I am a mission worker in Sierra Leone. It is 80 degrees there on a good day, often between 90 and 110, and extremely humid much of the year. I was out with a friend one day, and after more than 6 hours sitting in a mechanic's parking lot, sweating so much I could touch my palm to my forehead and flick sweat off like a child. Flicking water, I looked down. This man, this maniac, was wearing sneakers with no socks. I cannot imagine the unbearable clamminess and unpleasant odor of his poor toes. Once I saw it, I could not stop noticing for the rest of the trip, and he never wore socks. I know he could afford them. I pay his salary, and I know it is enough. Story 45. I remember when my best friend admitted she had a methamphetamine addiction. I was shocked because she had a really bad influence in her life at the time while I was away at school. I always felt bad that she did not have my positive influence then. She said sometimes her conscience sounded like me. She eventually got help and is doing really well now. Story 46. Putting mustard on pizza. He is unique, very intelligent, but somewhat unusual. Story 47. One friend told me they always pick their nose and then flick it behind furniture or in public places. I understand it is natural, but seeing that habit up close totally ruined my vibe around them. What about you? Story 48. I watched my brother-in-law watch television while picking at his blackheads and then eating them. He was a teenager at the time. Story 49. To people such as roommates, customers, and ex-partners who slighted or offended her, sometimes over the silliest things, she would blow mucus into their food or drink. After she told me how many times she had done this, I could not look at her the same way ever again. We are no longer friends. Story 50. Sexting with a 15-year-old boy. She was 22. She talked about her younger boyfriend to me, and I mistakenly thought he was 19 to 21. It was not until she was arrested that I learned the truth. I have not spoken to her since, but I still think her punishment was too lenient. She received probation and was placed on the registry for 10 years. Story 51. Had an emotional affair with my spouse. We are no longer in contact. Story 52. I have a friend who masturbates into cups. The same exact cups you receive when you ask for a drink. Story 53. My ex-friend and roommate only used mouthwash at night. I couldn't understand the point of making the effort to wash her face and then just use mouthwash. You made it this far. Story 54. My former best friend's parents owned a miniature poodle that would always try to mount people's feet. The unusual thing was that the dog was female. Then I found out why. My friend would let the dog get on his feet, rub her genitals with his toes and say, "That's a good girl, you like that, don't you?" Story 55. Cheating on her husband with our mutual coworker. I felt so disgusted that I could no longer have her over at my place and honestly just couldn't be friends anymore. I just don't see her the same way as I did before I found out. Story 56. She cheated on her husband. I found out by accident. The person she cheated with contacted her husband to inform him. She blamed me for it. They are still together despite the cheating. Story 57. A friend picks their ears and scalp and eats it while driving. They pick, look at it, then put it on the corner of their mouth. I have spent several long road trips in the passenger seat pretending not to notice. I have no idea if they think it is not obvious. Story 58. Flush the toilet with their foot. Every toilet, even at home. Story 59. People who habitually fool around with married people or cheat on their spouse cause significant harm. The first time I thought, well, that's terrible, but I know the family she came from was awful. When it happened 2 more times, I had to accept that I cannot blame it all on her upbringing. She is making these choices, and they are hurting other people, including the children of these married individuals who now have a parent that betrayed the other. While I still love her at the core, I hate who she has allowed herself to become. Story 60. She has been unfaithful to her husband a few times each year for the past 10 years. Story 61. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that request. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.